Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks, the dive bars of Seattle. So, we decided to create a podcast in which each episode explores a different dive bar, historic tavern, or interesting drinking establishment here in the local area. We're setting out to document those bars that have a seedy backstory and interesting history behind them. But we're not just talking about these places in the quiet confines of some home studio somewhere. No, as you can probably hear, we're actually visiting these places and recording each episode at whatever bar we happen to be featuring. In this podcast, we visit the places where bad decisions and future regrets are made, so you don't have to. For this first episode, we are here at the historic Woody's Tavern on Aurora Avenue in Shoreline. This place has quite the interesting backstory behind it, but before we get into it, I'd like to introduce the crew. So let's go around. Mr. Jeremy sitting next to me.
Hello. Hey, Jeremy, the one who shall remain nicknameless. Because...
I thought you did have a nickname, no?
Well, I don't know. Do I? We know yours. Stash Panda, right?
Stash Panda.
Sweet Lou.
I don't want to steal any loose thunder.
Sweet Lou. And you're Gaseous Clay.
No.
Now it's like George Costanza trying to distance himself from something that's going to stick and never go away.
That's not going to stick. We're going to make sure that's not going to stick. Okay, so first of all, Brad, great intro. Way too many hellos.
No, I did 3 hellos, and that's perfectly acceptable.
All right. Well, we'll work on that. that was good.
Like a warm open?
All right, that's good.
All right, sounded great.
It's up to you, Lou.
Okay, so we haven't said where we're at, so I'm not going to say it yet. Because that's going to be
haven't said
what? For later. We haven't said where we're at.
So I said that.
Yeah, I did.
You said we're at Woody's?
Yeah.
Woody's Tavern.
Oh, okay.
What have you been smoking, Lou? What's going on over there? Where are you
well,
at?
We don't even know who the hell you are because you haven't introduced yourself.
Sweet Lou.
Sweet Lou. All right.
Sweet motherfucking Lou once you get to know me.
That's right. That's right.
And, yeah.
And joining us, running the mix board here is Bob Trombley, and producer extraordinaire. And it's a name you might recognize because he used to be the producer on the Pike Place podcast, which is how I met him. I appeared on your podcast in 2019 after the release of my first book and met you and Jerry, and it was an awesome experience. And now you're part of our crew, so welcome aboard, man.
Hey, now. Love to be here. Thank you, Brad, for inviting me onto this lovely venture to explore some more of Seattle's history.
That's right.
And it goes deep. So, we're going to learn a whole lot, and I think we're going to have some fun while we're at it, too. So,
awesome.
Here we go.
And it's unfortunate that you can't afford your own microphone, Bob. I'm sorry. maybe when you've worked your way up the ranks.
When we get some sponsorship.
So, just to give you a little bit of background, we're in the parking lot of the former bar. Because it used to just be there. This was a parking lot for an apartment building.
We're literally in the parking lot.
And during COVID, this space became available. So they put up what you might put up at Burning Man. Like any guy could do this, right? It's 2x4s.
Yeah, like a
PVC pipe. You got some
outdoor structure.
Way nicer than Burning Man.
Lots of zip ties, lots of duct tape, a couple hanging plants, and some tarps. And it's triple the size of the bar.
I think you're kind of underselling it, Lou, because it's pretty badass back here. It is.
Yeah, I like it.
Pretty fucking badass.
We've been here a few times, and this has kind of emerged.
It's rickety because they did a killer job.
Yeah, it's fucking cool.
And it tripled the size of the bar.
So here's the history of the place. All right, so the starting point for the tale of this tavern begins in 1913, when a man by the name of Herman Butsky, and yes, that is his last name, purchased a small chunk of land here on Echo Lake and built a cabin that he moved into with his wife and daughter. Butsky was famous in Seattle for being the singing bartender at Billy Muggs Saloon, one of the most infamous saloons in Seattle. Now, Billy Muggs, for those who don't know... Infamous. Notorious.
Where was that at?
That was down in Pioneer Square. I think that was on 2nd and Yesler, if I'm not mistaken. I wrote about it in my book. So Billy Muggs was like probably the rowdiest, most popular saloon down there. It was the kind of place that, on movies when they show saloons and people are fighting and spilling out in the streets, that was Billy Muggs Saloon. They had dog fights and rooster fights that people would wager on there in the saloon. They also had this big, long bar, and Hermit Butsky was a singing bartender there. And so he would just break out in his song as he was bartending. But he was also known
bartenders are wont to do.
As they're wont to do.
Yeah.
But his true gift was expertly sliding glasses of beer down the length of the bar and precisely landing them in front of whoever ordered it. So it was like a game of shufflebar, just poof.
So wait.
Did you ever play Tapper, that video game where you served?
Yeah, I did.
So
and then he was.
What date are we talking here? What year?
So
are we
this
talking?
is like the turn of the century.
When's
So
he
this is
slinging these beers down
this
the
is
bar?
like the 1910s. Was Billy Mugg's saloon's
So
heyday.
potentially, this Butts dude is the influence for all of those crazy cartoons and movies and shit that we see of them sliding those beers.
They say that he was. They say he was the first one. He was the first one. And I guess he just had like an uncanny precision. Like someone could be 30 feet down, like, hey, barkeep, and do the signal for another beer, and he would slide it and it would go right in front of him.
Mad skills.
Mad skills.
Mad skills.
And like, how much would you tip a bartender if they were able to do that today? That's at least what, a 20% tip, right?
Oh hell yeah!
And he's breaking into song while doing this.
That might be a $20 tip.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
this was Butsky's place?
No, this was Billy Mugg's saloon. So it was owned by this guy named William Belland, and his nickname was Billy the Mug. And he was as tough as nails, no-nonsense guy. If someone was acting up in a saloon, rough him up a little bit, grab him by the scruff of the neck, and throw him out in the street. So, he was one of those kind of bar owners.
Kind of had to be back then.
And that's a way better name of a bar than Butsky's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It rolls off the tongue a lot better than Butsky's. Yeah. Not as many jokes he can make. So Butsky bought a chunk of property here in 1913 and built a cabin here. And after building his cabin, he opened a lakeside property, which he opened to the public, and it was known as the Echo Lake Bathing Beach. So it was like a public beach that people can come to. They had changing rooms. You can go in, change your bathing suit, and just spend a day at the beach here. So he ran that.
The beach of the lake.
Echo Lake here.
Yeah.
Yep. So he ran that from 1913 to about 1920. Now what happened in 1920 is Aurora Avenue here. Before it was Aurora Avenue, it was an old wagon trail.
Goddamn industrial progress.
Industrial progress. So wagons this was the north-south route that people used to go take from Seattle to Everett. And then when cars became a thing, they started traveling on it. It was known as North Trunk Road. And then in 1920, they decided to finally pave it because so many cars were using it. And then it became known as Aurora Avenue.
So wait. Uh-huh. It didn't become Aurora Avenue until they paved that old-ass wagon trail.
I believe so, yeah.
Wow. I don't think they called wagon trails avenues, so that's a big part of it.
Yeah, no, it went from North Trunk Road, and I don't know the exact year, but around the same time is when it became Aurora Avenue.
So many questions, Brad, so many questions. Who's this trunk person?
No, North Trunk Road wasn't named after a person. I think it was just I don't know where the name came from, but that's when it was the wagon
Research
wheel.
that shit and get back to me. Okay. And
Eddie Trunk.
why Aurora?
I heard the story. It had something to do with the Aurora Borealis, which is north, and I think that's where the name came from, because this is a northern route that people take to go north of the city.
I can totally see that being assigned to like some high school kid. I need a 500-page essay about why Aurora is named Aurora.
Yeah, I think that's why. Because it led to where the Aurora Borealis
Sounds
is
legit.
located. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so. So when this happened in 1920, when they paved it, all kinds of roadside businesses popped up. Restaurants, gas station, overnight lodges, things like that.
Brothels,
roadhouses, which we'll get into. So when this happened,
you'll hear a lot of those on this podcast.
Yeah,
Aurora's a huge bar highway.
Yeah, certain terms and things are going to be coming up a lot, and that's one of them.
Aurora.
God bless Aurora.
Keep going. Sorry.
So when this happened, a man by the name of Theodore Milan purchased a parcel of land from Butsky and constructed the building that we're recording the podcast from now. The building was squeezed between Aurora Avenue and then Echo Lake Road, which kind of goes at an angle. So that explains why the building has that really funky kind of triangular shape, because it was following the two roads. So he opened this building, and he reportedly used this to operate a roadhouse here. And for those who don't know, roadhouses were basically speakeasies during Prohibition. They were really popular where we are now, north of the city, because they were away from the Seattle Police Department, kind of off the beaten path. So there were a number of roadhouses along the stretch of road right here. And this was one of the earliest ones that opened around that time. And it was interesting, when I first got here tonight, I was talking to one of the regulars, and she was telling me, I was bringing this up to her, and she was telling me that, in the front there's actually a hatch in the main room there in the front. It's covered by carpet, so it's not accessible now. But if you were to remove the carpet and open this hatch, there's like a little hideaway underneath the bar that they used to use to smuggle booze and stuff, like with tunnels and stuff. So I'm dying to see this. So I'm going to, after we're done with the podcast, I'm going to see if there's any way, like, we can lift up the carpet and go under there at some point.
Where did the tunnels go and shit? Like
that, I don't know.
It drops back here behind the property.
I think it drops back here.
They probably just tunneled out down there.
And a lot of these tunnels, I know from my research.
Hill.
Yeah, and it was also a way for people to escape. So if places got raided, they would just open the hatch, everyone would drop down and then shoot out. By the time the cops got in there, the place was deserted. So I think it was used for that a lot, too.
And now it's just Comcast fiber.
Probably. I think the bartender was saying that they use it for cold storage and stuff. They, store a bunch of stuff down there.
Oh, yeah, sure they do.
Yeah, storage.
Yeah, okay.
Unquote. Yeah. So this place operated as a roadhouse from 1913 up through 1920. Until 1933, when a man by the name of Carl Melby purchased the building with the intent of turning it into a tavern. So at this part of the story, a little historical background explanation is needed to kind of explain what was going on and why taverns were opening in 1933. So Prohibition was the law of the land from 1920 until 1933 when it was repealed.
All hell broke loose.
And then all hell broke loose. The last couple of years of Prohibition, it was losing public support. It was very unpopular. So the government started kind of loosening some of the laws around Prohibition. And one of the first things they did earlier that year in 1933 was an act known as the Colin Harrison Act, which allowed beer to be served again.
Was it near beer? Like 3.5 beer?
Almost. It was 3.4% or lower. So what is that? Is that Bud Light? Or is Bud Light even higher than that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's practically nothing, which sounds like bullshit right now, but I think after a decade of Prohibition, people didn't care. Like, they didn't care what the ABV was. They could just finally at last go to a place and drink beer again, right?
Just got to drink a lot of them.
You just got to, a lot. Like what, 20?
Worry about sturdy when you're drinking water.
Yeah. So this was signed into law by President Roosevelt on April 7th, 1933, and it's now celebrated every year as, any guesses?
1933.
National Beer Day. So National Beer Day is every year
now.
on April 7th.
I am incredibly embarrassed that I did not know that.
You learn something new every day.
I know today's Dog Day.
It is National Dog Day.
Yep.
Woof, woof.
Yeah. My dog got an extra treat today because of that.
You knew that and you didn't know about National Beer Day?
Well, I might have on the radio, since it was National Dog Day. If you sent in KXP a picture of you and your dog with a request, you get it played.
Oh, chomp.
Did you do that?
No, I was in the car. I was being responsible.
And you don't have a. And you don't. Do you have a dog yet?
No, we have not replaced Buckley.
Okay.
Oh.
So after beer was legally allowed to be served again, is when Carl Melby purchased this building.
From Theodore Butsky?
Nope, it was the Milan guy.
Come on, keep up.
Where
Come
are
on,
you, Lou?
Jesus.
So he opened his tavern, which he named Melby's Tavern. Now, Melby was certainly an interesting character with an interesting backstory. He started out as a florist in Seattle, but was fined for peddling illegally obtained rhododendrons.
Ooh.
From what I read, I guess Homeboy would just go into parks, dig up rhododendrons from whatever park, and then sell it. And finally he got popped. Probably he dug out someone's yard and they filed charges. And that ended his career as a florist. This was around
the whole massive SWAT team comes down, semi-automatic weapons drawn.
We know you have your rhododendrons.
On the ground.
So, his career as a florist ended right around the time that Prohibition started in 1920, and that's when he became a bootlegger. And we know this because he got arrested so many times, as recorded in the newspaper. He was arrested in 1924 for transportation of liquor. He was transporting vermouth, which is kind of a weird liquor to... Because that's more of a mixer, right? Vermouth?
Yeah.
It's booze.
It's booze.
Yeah,
booze.
What a
back
weird...
then, like you said, it was a choice of vermouth
back in
and
the
3.5
back
beer.
in the day,
What would you go with?
vermouth was a
Would you
lot
drink
more
vermouth
popular
straight,
than it was
though?
now.
I mean, I've never heard of anyone drinking...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You would?
Desperate times.
Lou said he would
If
drink
it
it
was in
straight, so you guys
1921.
out there can form your own opinions about that. He was then arrested a few months later at a downtown Seattle garage with a big load of booze. Federal prohibition agents popped him, but the charges were dismissed and he was let go due to a technicality.
Well, he didn't serve much time for those because it ain't like he was stealing rhododendrons or anything.
No. He was only
slap on the wrist.
slap on the
for
wrist.
the booze. Yeah.
He was then arrested in Bellingham with 30 cases of liquor, which is quite a haul back then. And then so Roy Olmsted during Prohibition, he was the area's
bootlegger?
He was the gentleman bootlegger, or the king of the Puget Sound bootleggers, as he was also known. So he was the head cheese back then. He was the top bootlegger in the area, but he went to prison in 1927. And Melby, apparently, after Olmsted went to prison, took over as the city's top liquor baron. And he became known as Seattle's society bootlegger. So Olmsted was the gentleman bootlegger.
Melby was
the society bootlegger. Yeah. In 1928, he was busted by the Coast Guard near Anacortes after he was caught unloading booze from a boat. The Coast Guard found him with 54 cases of liquor, cuffed him, and brought him to Seattle. And he was found guilty, and he served 90 days in jail. I think that was his first actual jail sentence. Fast forward to 1931, he's arrested on Greenwood Avenue.
Wait. I thought we were already at 1933 when they repealed...
Well, this is his backstory. This is Melby's backstory before he opened this bar here.
Wow. Okay.
So this is the events leading up to Melby's Tavern.
It's all going to come together.
It's all going to come together. So yeah, 1931, 2 years before he opened Melby's Tavern, he was arrested on Greenwood Avenue. Prohibition agents pulled him and another guy named Sid Green, who used to be part of Olmsted's outfit, and they found him with 26 cases of booze in his car. At this point, because he had been arrested so many times, Melby was sentenced to 12 months at a prison work camp, so like a chain gang. It was the Fort Lewis Road Camp, is what it was known as, and he basically served a year there working on a chain gang with a pickaxe and a shovel every day, digging up rocks. So that means he was probably released in 1932, so about a year after his release from this prison camp is when he opened Melby's Tavern.
I'm going on the straight and narrow. I'm going to open myself up a tavern.
Yep.
That'll keep me out of prison.
What could go wrong there? What could possibly go wrong?
He should have opened a salon instead.
Getting into hair, boys. Hair and nails.
So he and his wife lived upstairs, because this is a 2-story tavern, and they ran the tavern below. And before the podcast, I actually got a chance to go up and see the upstairs. They're just using it for storage right now, for stock and liquor and stuff like that. But a regular I was speaking to
Let's
before,
let her come back and tell it.
we're hoping a regular is going to come join us. But in case she doesn't, because it's not 100%, let me relay a story. She was telling me that in the 70s, the upstairs, I guess, was a heroin den. There's a bunch of rooms up there. And apparently someone died of an overdose up there, and the ghost of this heroin addict lady still haunts the upstairs. And this lady who I was talking to claims that she had an encounter with this heroin ghost.
Asking her if she could get her any heroin, probably.
I don't know what was going on.
They're all the same.
The only trick is, though, to experience the heroin ghost, you have to be on heroin.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
You know that for a fact.
Somebody
how do you
told
know
me.
this?
Yeah, somebody told me that.
So Melby and his wife continued to run the tavern until his death in 1942. He had a heart attack while fishing up near Anacortes, and he passed away, and he was 56 years old. After his death, the establishment continued to be run as Melby's Tavern, but continued to run afoul of the law. In 1945, for instance, the Washington State Liquor Control Board shut down Melby's after they found them selling alcohol to minors. There were 6 teens involved, so,
Back in the day, that was common course.
It was.
Right?
It actually was pretty common.
What was the drinking age? Was it 18 yet? Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question.
The discretion of the bartender.
I think so, but the Washington State Liquor Control Board didn't play around. They heavily enforce stuff.
That's true.
So I think it was probably 18, and who knows? Maybe they were 17, but they didn't care.
14's fine, but 13 and a half, we got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah. What are we going to allow 10-year-olds? What's the cutoff here? So it continued to be operated as Melby's until the 1980s, and then it was renamed Joe's Tavern. And then in the 90s, it became the Echo Lake Tavern.
Wait. Who's Joe?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know anything about this Joe guys. Yeah, Joe Blow. There you go.
So how long was it Joe's?
So it was Joe's in the 90s until it became the Echo Lake Tavern in 2011. So in about a decade, a little over a decade.
Maybe even a decade and a half or two. So we need to find out who this Joe guy is.
Well, I don't think that's too significant to the story.
What's more important is who's Woody. When's he come into the picture?
That is a good question.
Brad's getting there. Don't jump ahead, Lou.
Yeah, don't jump ahead. So, Echo Lake Tavern until 2011, and then it became Woody's, which is what it continues to be known as today. And to answer your question, I have no idea why it's called Woody's. We'll have to ask the bartender that.
Okay.
That's a good question.
That's a good one.
Well, I don't know where that
But
name
there's
came
also the Echo Lake Tavern kind of.
Which I like that name. I kind of wish it was still.
Yeah. I've told someone one time when I was coming up here where it was at, and they were like, is it next to Echo Lake?
Yep.
I didn't know the area yet, but
depending on
this was Echo Lake
how
for
you
a while.
squint and look at this building, it's either Woody's or Echo Lake Tavern.
Yeah.
Who's this Echo Lake person?
I don't know. Echo Lake, Joe. There's so many names here. I can't keep track of them all. So that's the story of this place. What do you guys think of that?
I had no idea that there was such a tight connection with Seattle's amazing bootleg history. I had no.
Oh, okay.
All right. So that was badass. That so the history of this place is critical to what this podcast, what the fuck we're talking about, right? So that was awesome.
Thank you.
But what we need to augment that is like somebody who's never been here now knows of the history of that of where we are. They don't know where we are. Like, where are we? Right? We're in, dare I say, dive bar, right? And like, what is a dive bar? Right?
Oh, you want to go over the parameters of what makes a dive bar?
Well,
for us?
I mean, episode numero uno of this format, we should probably go there, right?
Get into that?
Don't you think?
Yeah. So what does make a dive bar?
One of the things we talked about, what it's not, is it can't be a place that's been found by the hipsters. You don't want to go to a place where there's 40 people under 30, you know?
That's an interesting question, though. Is it clientele or is it history? Right?
I think it's both. I think because dive bars, you can't just open a dive bar and then have it be a dive bar.
Nuh-uh.
It has dive bars are those bars that have been around since
new, it's not
the
a dive
50s, 60s, 70s, what have you. And so they got some grit under their fingernails. You know, they got some grime on the wall. It's
one of the ones we want to do that's a tweener is Shorty's, which is a pinball bar in Belltown.
Yep.
And in the last 2 years, he had to move locations to a place down the block. So all the dirt on the floors and all the hot dog juice that's on the wall behind him it's all clean now. So it's actually a nice bar.
So you're talking about Shorty's, but
can
we still?
That's a good point.
So Shorty's carries the history, but it's a new location and it's not a dive. It's actually. It's fucking awesome. All the tables are old pinball tops, and
I wouldn't call it a dive bar though.
It's slick.
But it's more of a hipster bar. I mean, it's a hip place.
I know where you're going, Brad. It's like it's not just the decor. It goes beyond the decor. Like you can lose the grease stains on the wall, and it's still a fucking kick-ass dive bar, right?
If you keep all the people that come over to the new place, regulars have to be part of it. I think.
Okay.
But it has to have some
old
grimy
regulars.
roots, some old roots, like Daryl's up the street, for instance. Daryl's, when you go there, it has the original linoleum floors, and the pool tables that have been in the same place for decades,
Red
to the
leather
extent
boots.
that there's actual grooves in the linoleum around the pool table, like a trail that has been dug into the
Oh, yeah.
linoleum.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
That's a dive bar.
Yes, but I would say, to your point, Lou, about like Shorty's moving, there's that aesthetic, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the physical decor. Like,
No.
if Daryl's refinishes their linoleum floor,
Sure.
there's still going to be Daryl's dive bar,
Sure.
right?
Well, I
Sure.
can think of one bar that's lost their dive bar license with the remodel, and that was
Oh.
the Canterbury on Capitol Hill.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Canterbury
that's a good
on
point.
15th
Like, can you
was
That's a good
awesome. And when they
example.
remodeled
can
well,
you
actually, all the
remain
regulars took
open
off.
and not be a dive bar anymore?
I don't know. I don't
Right?
think you can. I think that would be
Well,
hard, you know. I think
It's a good example.
I think location
example.
and
That's probably the only one I
and the
can think
roots
of.
of the place is everything. I really do.
It's lost their license.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
places
because they
on our
got too
list.
bougie
Too bougie, yep.
Too bougie.
when they remodeled.
Yeah, prices go up, you lose the regulars.
Yeah. So you could argue that they're essentially they're not. It's not the same bar anymore. They might as well
Yes.
fucking change their name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with the Comet is a good example of what you were talking about earlier up on Capitol Hill. Now the Comet's in the same location,
Yep.
and that
Has it
was
been
without
remodeled,
question
or is
a
it
dive
still-
bar, but they did a serious remodel.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I haven't been
I
in 20
mean,
years.
did you guys ever go there in the 90s in the
think
Comet?
like a million times.
Yeah.
By like legal decree, they're like, we're gonna condemn your ass if you don't remodel this shit because it's a fucking dump.
Yeah.
But that's a good example of before the remodeling, it was a dive bar. You
Yeah.
wouldn't want to do a show there because it's always packed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you'd be taking up way too much real estate for people that aren't drinking.
But I saw a couple shows there. They pulled it off a few
yes.
times there.
So, circling us back where we are now, you mentioned you kind of kicked us off with we're essentially in the parking lot that has been turned into a pretty cool ass backyard kind of patio, covered patio kind of cool thing. That
It
is
actually has an
badass.
A-frame roof on it. It's not a flat tarp cover. It's
Yeah.
actually a pitch.
Yeah,
No, he
It's
did a
like-
good job with this.
It's
It's
a
like
pitched
3
roof.
times
It's
bigger
like
than
an-
the actual bar.
It's like
right?
an airplane hangar.
Yeah,
essentially.
we're in an airplane hangar connected to the dive bar. So we're kind of cheating because where we're at now is definitely not dive bar
Okay,
we just
that's
have
true.
We're dive bar by association.
Yeah.
We're dive bar adjacent.
Dive bar adjacent. That's right. Dive bar adjacent.
But we are officially in Woody's Tavern. We're
We are.
outside of it, but this
We
is
are.
officially part of it. So we're
That's
we're,
right.
we're in a
it's
dive
a property.
bar. Yeah.
It's a property.
Just because we're on the patio here doesn't
So we
doesn't
could have
change
taken
that.
the corner booth, Jeremy.
I know,
That's a good
it's
point.
fucking-
Why aren't we in the corner booth?
There's no power hookup, Lou.
No power.
Oh,
and
what
so
about the
noisy
first-
as shit
What
in
about
there.
that one?
No power.
So this is okay. So
This is
Well,
it.
if we
This is
had
the only
if we
place in
had
the
the
joint with
real
power.
advanced technology, we could walk hot mic into the bar.
We could
Maybe someday.
you want to get a cordless mic and walk
Maybe
around?
maybe
start
in
interviewing people.
maybe in a future episode.
Well, hopefully the next bar has some plugs in the physical. part of the
Interview
bar.
the stressed out, overworked bartender as he's in the middle of like pouring 5 drinks. Hey, put
Got
the
a
microphone
word?
in his place. Got a word? See how quick his politeness evaporates.
You call that a lemon zest? Shit.
So yeah, and we're going to try to do these every 2 weeks, right?
I think that's the plan. Yeah, we're gonna
Or
kind of like
twice a week?
Twice
Wait, no,
a week.
what?
Be tough to do a weekly one. We'd run out
Yeah,
of
it'd be
bars.
tough.
we're.
It'd be Every 2 weeks.
And I
I
don't
think we're gonna figure a
we
lot
could
of the
find
stuff
the
out
time.
as we go. But yeah, the plan right now I think is every 2 weeks.
So for you listeners at home, we hope to release one every 2 weeks. We might put
So,
3 or 4 in
I
the
think
can, Bob's
every-
idea.
Yeah.
And then once we have
Yeah.
a backlog, if we can't make it for a
Yeah.
couple weeks, we can still keep it coming. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know
There
you're
might-
going to be
There might be an
jonesing for it.
episode where we're talking the talk, but we're not actually walking the walk. Like we'll be talking about a classic, truly classic Seattle dive bar establishment, but we won't necessarily be there when we're recording.
It depends on the logistics of it.
Yeah.
You know how
It's tough.
like you can hear
Some of these
music
bars are
right now
louder
as we
than
speak,
shit.
but it might be even worse at some places.
Yeah,
so we're
some
gonna
of these
kind of
some of these bars
figure
are
it out
louder
as
than
we go.
shit.
Yeah.
Or some of these bars would be like, fuck you, you're not gonna record on my bar.
I don't think we'll have a problem with that myself.
hope not.
But,
Hope
I don't
not.
know.
People
Maybe
think,
I'm rose
They don't know
colored.
nobody's listening, but it sounds like free promotion.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
We're doing a show
straight.
from your bar.
Yeah.
So
and we're gonna
every
give you a shout
episode,
out.
though, we
Howie
do
Mandel's
need
coming
to
by.
add
We've
a
got
little bit more
jugglers and
color
a-
commentary about like what is a dive bar and why are we even here in the first place, right? Because I'm looking around and I love what I see. I love being here. There's a reason why I'm here, but it's hard. It's kind of hard to explain, right? I mean,
yeah.
like, what is a dive bar? Like, what's the appeal? What's the attractiveness? It's the beer. It's the beer.
We'll do that on the next one. We did what is a dive bar. Then we'll do why do you want to be in a dive bar.
Yeah.
But right now, maybe we should do a little.
What you drinking? All right.
Lou's ready for this.
What you drinking? Well, this is like super dumb and easy this episode because we got a fucking pitcher, which is kind of cheating because we're all drinking the same goddamn thing.
Well, you and I are.
Oh yeah, that's true. Lou, you're drinking something different.
Lou has a big announcement to make. Lou has discovered a new drink because whiskey makes him full, makes his tummy full.
Too many calories.
So too many calories.
Yeah.
So what I'm drinking this week is soda water and a lime.
What?
Because we scheduled this podcast on the one night of my 50 years so far in which I'm having a colonoscopy tomorrow.
Oh,
so you're not allowed to
Up the old chute.
eat, drink at all.
Yeah, you're supposed
the
to
day
fast.
before. Yeah, they said you're allowed to have a light breakfast, but it didn't say shit about lunch. It just said have a light breakfast and please don't eat dinner.
Now, did they
Big lunch, KFC. What are we talking?
Now, did they give you that stuff that you take that like clears you out?
After I leave here a couple hours later,
dude,
I will be.
you should have fucking
shitting
gone
my
to
brains out.
Azteca and just like gone crazy.
Just as like a joke on them.
Can I have like the
God, this guy.
can I have like the Diablo shrimp?
Did you even take the stuff? What stuff?
Extra guacamole.
So yeah, this is kind of weird to be in the dive bar and not being able
So,
to.
what time
Wow.
tomorrow, Lou? Do they send the camera up the old poop chute?
9:30.
9:30.
Are you
You'll
gonna do
be
that?
in our prayers
You
and
gonna
wishes.
live stream that shit
Oh, we'll have some pictures up
on
Instagram from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
podcast.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Just go to Hash Brown
So have you
Jim Light Stiff Drinks.
now have you gone through this before? So do you know what to expect?
No, I just turned 50. In fact,
Aw, it's your first colonoscopy. Aww.
Is a guy.
That's adorable.
That's so cute.
I know the shower's right after, so I hope you guys can make it.
No, that stuff they give you is no joke, Lou. So stay within close proximity to the toilet because you're gonna be there, and you're doing
Yeah.
it at night. How are you even gonna get sleep, dude? I mean, that's
Well, I don't. What,
I did
what
mine
do you
during
mean?
the
I'm
day.
gonna shit my brains out for 6 hours after I take it.
it's not just one, dude. I mean, this clears you out. This is
Oh, it's like the turista. Getting that.
think of
What?
the worst case of the runs you ever had, where you're
Drinking
just
water in Mexico.
it's like that.
Montezuma's Revenge.
It's like that.
Revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's not just like one convenient trip to the toilet and you're done for the day. You're
You're gonna be
gonna
riding
be
the
camped
bus all
out there.
night?
Yeah.
Oh man.
You didn't think this through very good, did you, Lou?
You're gonna need like 2 or 3 car and driver magazines in the bathroom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the way you described it, though, I don't know why I've been putting it off. I mean,
Well, you're really looking forward to it, huh? It's like,
Now,
shit,
my-
I
this
would have
sounds
kept
great,
putting
man.
it off, but my wife was like, "Okay, we just turned 50. You're supposed to do it." I scheduled it. I was like, "Oh man."
No, it's good that you did it.
Yeah.
Now, if you send some FaceTime requests tonight, I'm not going to be answering them tonight, man. So save yourself the.
Can't sleep. You want to bullshit for a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Okay,
right, so let's do-
that's what you're drinking.
So Lou is drinking soda water. We're off to
And
a
the
good start here.
circulator. I should have brought the box.
Wow. Okay.
Everyone out there in podcast land is very impressed. Jeremy and I are drinking Space Dust, which is what is
Elysian.
that? Elysian. Yeah.
Yes, a
We got a
classic.
picture of that
Classic.
classic IPA.
Now we don't have time on this episode, but the beer that a dive bar serves can be pretty telling, right? I mean,
I
right?
think so. Well, to me,
I mean, we got Elysian Space Dust, which is a fantastic IPA.
but it can't.
one of our favorites.
It can't be all like craft beer to me for a dive bar. They got to also have some of the old like standards. They they got to have Rainier or Miller or one of those.
Can it be all of those old standbys?
Sure.
I
It
don't
just
think
can't
you
be
could
too much
survive up here,
too much
though,
bougie
if you just
craft beer.
served-
Well, yes, that's why I asked the
Yeah.
question, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a whole fucking other episode, right?
Yeah, if it's too much craft, like I like craft beer myself, we all do. But if it's too much craft beer, I don't know. That kind of like takes the rating of the dive bar down a couple notches in my view.
And your clientele is going to be significantly influenced, right?
Sure.
If you don't have Rainier or Coors Light or something,
Some
you're going to
Oli.
lose some clientele.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
Rainier or something.
they got some vitamin R in there on the tap.
Yep.
Well, there are some
So-
serious dive bar beer places, like by your old apartment. Did you ever go to the Duck Island next to Beth's?
Yeah.
They were beer nerds.
Divey, but beer nerds.
Yeah, total dive, but they always had something.
Oh, that's a
on
whole other
cask
fucking
and-
episode.
That's a whole
right there.
nother.
But they were almost
my
can of
God.
worms.
Yeah. New school dive bars.
That's not
Right?
really a dive bar though.
Well,
that's
it's been
more
there
of like
forever.
that's more of a beer pub, I would say.
Yeah.
It's not a bar, you know.
When
Yeah,
is a
you're right,
dive
they don't
bar
even serve
not a
hard
dive
drinks.
When it's a cannonball bar.
bar? Cannonball.
What's a cannonball bar?
The fucking.
Explain yourself,
get
sir.
Bob-
When
Mike.
it's a cannonball bar. Well, you're not diving. You're doing a cannonball. Maybe a jackknife bar.
no.
Maybe a.
We walked right into that, didn't we?
You're fired.
Hey,
That's a good dad joke though. Credit where credit is due.
This is a
Yeah.
this is a pun-free zone. Didn't we tell you that?
That's a good dad joke.
Nice.
now we got Tupac, and this is what I grew up on here.
Well, I mean, again, not for this episode, but the musical selections for the bar, arguably, potentially as important as their alcohol selection.
Woody's is always on point every time I've been in here.
I would like to say this. I'd like to bring everyone down to the Pike Place Market. Hopefully it's still the same. The Pike Place Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
And
That closes at like 6
that
p.m.
Place is, that place's music is so eclectic. It's just like, it was always like weird. Like, I don't know, like.
In a good way though, or
Kind of, but like, you don't really know.
Do they have
what
a
you're
folk-
gonna get.
folk rock
So
night?
many different genres that it pulls from. You're just like, what the fuck? Like, out of all the bars I went to, that has the most eclectic, kind of weird genre.
Do they have a Norwegian death metal night?
No, it's just weird. They just
Oh, well, I'll
pull from
forget
all
it, I'm up there.
Does
I don't
this
know.
place have a jukebox?
They do.
Or it's like the app where you can,
Well, no, that's the cool thing, right?
right?
Make it
They
like
have a
that.
You can do either
jukebox,
one.
but it's only music in the bar. What we're listening to now in the patio, totally different. DJ.
Oh, so that's the app you were showing me last time we were here. where
But
you
that's
can-
only in the bar. What we're listening to now, God knows who chose this.
It could just be a playlist, and if you pick a song, it interrupts it, you know? Like it's like Pandora, it's just playing a playlist of random stuff based on what people play here, and then if you play a
Could be.
song, it'll throw it in there next, maybe.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, try it out. Play a song. You got the app on your phone, don't you?
Well, no, I know. If you pull up the jukebox in the bar and select a song, it plays it in the bar. It does not
Yeah.
play it out here.
Right.
Yeah,
That's something I gotta get.
out here is completely independent. Like you can't fuck with what's playing out here.
Oh.
Somebody selected this. It's like it's
The
a
app is for
Pandora
inside.
playlist. I don't know what the fuck. Right, exactly, exactly. So what's playing out here?
See,
You
that's how
cannot
old I am. I'm
influence
thinking
it.
jukebox is like someone's putting in a quarter and picking a song.
But like, who has selected this playlist? I want to meet that guy.
For example,
I wanna meet that guy.
like this, that's
Right? Like,
Yeah.
how many times have we come here and be like, this damn good tunes, man. It's tasty.
Yeah, it started
yeah.
out playing old school country. They were playing Buck Owens, Streets of Bakersfield. And now we're playing some
I
Tupac.
have like an old matchbook
And,
from when it was
I
Melby's
love it.
Tavern.
Yeah.
This place,
Heard
like
some
stuff
Dolly
like that.
Or
Yeah, yeah.
Madonna.
Although, could you argue, is it anti-dive
Yeah.
bar?
I'm sure a lot of the places
No.
Is it too good? Is the music too good for a dive bar?
Well, if you got a jukebox,
Maybe
people,
once we run the shows
it's
for a
the-
living, and we get hounded
the
by
playlist
listeners
is the
that want
people
a
at the
live
bar,
event,
right?
We could do like a
But
live
this
event
isn't the
where you have,
playlist of
like,
people at the bar.
you know, you build
Yeah.
like a little display, acrylic cases,
So,
you have some of that
what
stuff
is
on
it?
there, people can
Whatever
select,
music is in the
you
bar
have
is
stuff that you don't
dive
like,
bar
you know,
eligible.
Yeah.
through it, you know,
then what's this?
People like
that
that,
we're listening
man.
This is
to.
Tupac.
People
I
love
know.
it. People love it.
But is
then
it
it connects them. They're
the
like
dive bar
listening
music?
to it, but they also got like a visual.
Because it's playing
you
like
know.
tangentially at a dive bar, right? You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get
and
the-
actually,
get the
you're
connection
right.
here?
Like most dive bar jukeboxes wouldn't have much rap on it at all.
But I think it sounded,
It's all
sounded
rock.
good, everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh my God! You just got recording?
No, we're still going hot, but I'm just.
So
Okay.
do we got one more segment we want to do?
Yeah, you want me to do Where We At?
Yeah. That'll
Brad
be our
did
last
What's
segment.
Going On, and Jeremy did What You Drinkin'.
Yeah, the mic.
And I'm going to
still-
do...
Well, we do have a third of a pitcher left, so we got to talk about something.
so let's talk about...
Otherwise, it's just us drinking, and that's a really fucking boring podcast.
Did you bring me a beer bong?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
All right, time to go. So yeah, let's do a little about where we're at. We are on, Brad told us earlier, we're on Aurora Avenue, which used to be the highway before the freeway. And so it's not a residential area. There are some apartments, but it's mostly
Highway 99.
Highway 99. So yeah, if Aurora, let's say Street Zero is Denny, and then we're at 190th about, right? 145th is the first suburb of the city, so, 10 minutes away from the city. We're about 12 minutes away from the city up here.
That sounds about right.
And when,
Are
what
we,
did
are
you,
we are we in Shoreline or are we in?
we're still in Shoreline.
12 minutes
Yeah.
COVID traffic.
All right.
Yeah, there
Shoreline.
you
12
go.
minutes?
12
In
minutes.
COVID traffic.
12
COVID
minutes
traffic.
at night. 12
Straight
minutes
out
on
of
a good
Shoreline.
day. 12 minutes in the morning.
I'll take COVID traffic any day of the week.
Me too.
Deftones are playing on the jukebox. We're all in heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, Tupac followed by Deftones. I like that. That's a nice mashup. It is very Seattle.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's,
yeah,
It is
Aurora's
very
solid.
Seattle,
It's a
but is
solid
it
lineup.
is it dive bar-ish enough?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we get some thumbs up. Get
Oh,
some thumbs
definitely.
Oh, is this part of the segment? Is this where we rate it?
up. You tell me.
I don't know.
Well, like what we were talking earlier.
I mean, this is fucking killer music, but like Lou and I were talking about before, is it dive bar?
It's definitely dive bar, dude. It's definitely dive bar.
Metal's
it's got,
definitely dive bar.
It's got some grit under its fingernails.
Yeah?
It's got some like seedy history behind it. It's been here in the same location for over 100 years, going back
Wait,
to
Deftones have
Prohibition.
been here over 100 years? Oh, I'm talking about the music, motherfucker.
I thought you were talking. I thought your question was, "Is this a dive bar?"
No. The music.
The music?
Is this dive bar-y enough music?
So edit that part out.
Yeah, edit that part out. Let's go back to
Pay
where we're at.
attention, come on.
We're on Aurora Avenue,
Step to
north of
speed.
Seattle. And like Brad described, it's kind of a train of sin. It's bars, it's roadhouses. So Aurora's always... even
Train
though
of awesomeness.
the city's gentrified, Aurora's still... Like when I first moved here, what's the first thing
Pure,
you think of when
raw.
I said Aurora? What's the joke you're going to make?
True, real.
Brad?
Something hookers.
Something hookers. That is exactly correct. So...
Speaking of train, there's a lot of caboose on there.
Yeah, when I first moved here, you think of Aurora as hookers and Fleabag motels.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
a lot of the Fleabag
Aloha
motels
Inn.
have been taken out, have been
have.
demolished.
Like the Black Angus, right? You know what I'm talking about? The Black Angus. You think it's a restaurant, but oh no, it's an hourly rate motel.
Right next
And
to,
how do you know this, Jeremy?
Right next to Krispy Kreme and
somebody told me.
Lowe's. And
Somebody told
Lowe's
me.
is where we find the hosts. I'm
Hired
pointing at
hourly
you.
labor?
Yes, the women are plying their trade down. We're at 190th, go down to 145th and 125th.
There's
and those
nothing
20
you
blocks,
can't get out in front
That's
of a
where you will
Lowe's.
find the ladies plying their trade, right next to Lowe's Home Improvement.
And what's that known as?
Lowe's Hose.
The Lowe's hose.
And there's
That's right.
and there's a taco truck parked right there where you can get tacos and anything else you want.
You can get churros too.
Somebody told me.
So yeah, there was
churros, that's right. They
when
have churros, bro.
when I first moved to town.
Why didn't you say that before?
The prostitutes were at zero. They were at Street Zero at Denny and Aurora, which is basically right next to the Space Needle. If you're not here, so I think once it started gentrifying, the cops pushed them north. They were like, kids are coming to the Science Center and the Opera House and the children's museums there, and they pushed them north. So now,
That's great you remember that. That's awesome.
yeah. So Aurora's still hard scrabble where this building's at, though I wouldn't call it. What would you call this? A C building? A B building? It's definitely not an A building. It's probably a C.
It's older than fuck, for one. It's haunted for two. And three, it's a weird-ass shape. So it's got the trifecta.
It's not
It does have
script.
the trifecta, yeah.
It's a triangular shaped building like Jeremy described before. It's brown. It's got a flat roof, and I've driven by it 3 times, going too fast. Like, oh, it's right there.
Yeah, blink you missed it.
Blink and you missed it.
And there's a heroin ghost upstairs. So, I mean,
There's a heroin ghost upstairs. Does anyone live upstairs, or is that just offices now?
It's vacant, but you could live up there. When I was up there, I mean, it has a kitchen, bathroom, several different bedrooms.
Did you ask him how much a month it costs?
No, but I'm surprised someone hasn't, I'm surprised no one's living up there right now because it's totally, he could lease it out right now and definitely collect rent every month.
My son's coming back from...
You thinking of throwing him up there, right above Woody's? Son, I got the great place for you.
Got you a job to go along with it.
So that's the conclusion of our very first episode of our new podcast. Thank you for joining us. Signing out with me is Jeremy, Lou, and Bob. This is Brad Holden. See you guys on the other side.
And get you a fucking teaser, right? This is not our first episode, but
the
more
intrigue.
to that story. Stay tuned.
To be continued.